So if you remember that what you truly believe is what you get, it will really change your life. So we're going to talk today. This is messages coming from the Christ letters. I'm going to explain something to you here. It's going to make a whole lot of sense. So if you believe in punishment, then punishment's what you'll get. And if you believe in killing and destruction as being the right way to reach God, then that's what you'll experience, killing and destruction. And by indulging in your fearful thoughts, your anxieties, and your feelings of hopelessness, you are creating the very conditions that you want to rectify. You're doing all these bad things to yourself. Now, you know that place in the Bible where it says, blessed are the pure in heart? So I'm going to elaborate on that here. So, most blessed are the pure in heart, because they have rid themselves of all anger, hatred, vindictiveness, unkindness, envy, hardness of heart, and they stand before the world as love that is made visible. They know the reality called God, and they will know that the reality is the Father within them. You don't have to look up into the sky, because that's not where you will not where you will see the activity of the Father. So clearly that it will reinforce your faith. No, this is where people down the centuries have made the big mistake of turning outwards into their dreaming, into their imagination, and creating for themselves a Jehovah that doesn't exist. You will not find the Father someplace in the heavens above you. The Father is in no special place, but everywhere around and within everything. And you can see the marvelous work of the Father all around. If you look around at the growing things and the wheat and the grass and the flowers and the trees and the birds, and in every living thing, you will see the mysterious and wonderful work of the Father, ceaselessly active. And it's here that the Father is perfectly in control. You can see that there is perfect law and order, growth and development, and eventually harvest to bless both man, beasts, and birds. The work goes off without a hitch because it is not interrupted. The divine's perfect work is not interrupted by these beautiful flowers and animals and trees. They allow the perfect work to go on, and they do not disrupt it by mind. Now, I got to tell you guys something that you might think is a little bit nuts, but you're going to like it. So, when I was up at my cabin, and I gained this enlightenment. I was up there for several weeks, so all of this is blended together because this has been several years now, and of course, subsequently I get these, regularly, all the time now. But at the time when this was brand new to me and I'm experiencing this, I had very mysterious, interesting things happen to me. One included having the experience of being in the consciousness of a bird. So let me back it up. I'm sitting on my dock. So this is outside my cabin. My cabin's right on the lake. So go down and I meditate on the dock because nobody's around. So I can be out there, nobody's going to see me. I'm out there for 45 minutes maybe. And my eyes are closed this whole time, right? I'm sitting cross-legged on the dock. And I had heard at some point, I had been hearing mosquitoes buzzing around, but they weren't bothering me. And while I'm meditating, I kept having this vision come to my mind of myself in this aura of light, just all around me. It just kept popping into my head that I'm seeing this aura of light around me. So I hear some movement in the water up in front of me, and I'm thinking, oh, those ducks must be back, because every time I would go out there, all the animals come out of the woodwork, literally, and come over and would check me out, right? Because there's nobody up there, so they're like, what's going on over here? So I know that there's these ducks in front of me, so I open my eyes to look at these ducks because they're cool, super cool, crazy looking. They got crazy hair. Anyways, and so I open my eyes. Yeah, there's ducks swimming in front of me, but the amazing thing was that I looked up and all around me, and there's hundreds or thousands of mosquitoes that are all around me, but they're not penetrating that aura that I had been envisioning. What I was seeing was this ball of light that was surrounding the outside of me, a couple feet away from me, like within me and around me. And these mosquitoes it's like they couldn't get through that aura that was around me. So I look up and I'm like, oh, this is cool. But at this time, I had already experienced so many miraculous, wonderful things. All these gifts had been given to me, and these amazing things that I was impressed by this, but I wasn't, I wanted more. So I look up, I see it for a couple seconds, and I'm like, oh, amazing, I want more. This is exactly what I say. So I'm still sitting there cross-legged, and I, got my hands probably, fingers together, probably sitting on my knees. And so I close my eyes again. And within a few seconds, I feel something moving into my body. Feels like I'm kind of shifting, I'm moving around, and I feel something moving into my body. And I intuitively knew, I go, oh, it's that bird. So from the very first day that I got there, and I had been there for weeks at this point, but the very first day that I got there, I pull up and there's a raven or a crow, or I don't know what it was, I can't tell the difference. If somebody knows, you tell me. But this bird showed up as soon as I pulled up, flew into this tree, and I go, oh, this bird is here for me. Okay. But weeks had gone by, not much had happened with it. But every time that I would go to meditate, if I'm sitting on the dock, he would fly over out of wherever he happened to be, and he would come and sit up in a tree right next to me every single time. So at this point, I recognize, oh, it's this bird. Now at this point, I have already spoken the word and created healing for somebody, because this particular bird that I'm speaking about right now had come over to a tree. Now keep in mind, I didn't think I could communicate with animals. I intuitively know things about people and this kind of thing, but animals wasn't really my forte. I knew several friends that were animal communicators and this kind of thing, but that wasn't for me. And until the day that he came over and told me to heal somebody, and I was like, okay. So now at this point, this bird has, asked me to do some healing, and it was accomplished, it was done. And so now I'm feeling this bird moving into my body, and I'm aware for like a split second, oh, I know what this is, it's that bird. And within that second of me recognizing this, I am then all of a sudden, in my meditative state, I'm floating up above the lake now, way high up above the lake. And I'm this bird. But I am now in the consciousness of this bird, so there's no thought that is attached. There is only the feeling of intuition, of just kind of being pulled one way or the other way, and just intuitively, instinctually, I guess, knowing what to do. But there's no thought. There's no mind. There's just this feeling of knowing. And so I'm kind of floating up there for a little bit. And then I see these black, it looks like, you could see this in a movie, it looks like black smoky type stuff floating up from the lake. A couple of them, two. I see one, two. And I recognize this, I see that this is happening as this bird. And so as this bird, I then fly over and I gather these, I pick them up somehow. I have no idea how. And then I fly back over into that tree where the bird is always sitting when I'm meditating on the dock. I'm now in this tree. And so at this moment, I have the awareness now of what this is that I just experienced. Keep in mind, some of this took a long time to really process and understand exactly what it was that was going on. But at this point, I knew that those black things that had been gathered were prayers. And this bird had gathered them and then brought them, delivered them to someone who was spiritually minded enough that they could do something about those prayers. So this part was very clear. It came later, as in several months ago, and keep in mind this was years ago that it happened. I kept thinking, why were they black though? Why were those prayers black? Because obviously I associate that with something negative. But it makes so much sense now because they were fear-based prayers. They were sending out negative fear, right? They were like, this horrible thing, focused on the fear that was there. Please, help me with this fear. Help me with this fear. Please heal this person. But they weren't white because there wasn't necessarily belief. There wasn't the focus on the love. There was the focus on the problem that was there. Well, understandable. This is how most people pray. But I just realized this, recently here. So anyways, this bird is now sitting there, and so I have now had this experience, and I realized that the person who that bird had delivered the message to was me. So I was just seeing the process of why that had happened and how that had happened. But the most amazing part of it was just to be in the consciousness of that bird and to experience that temporarily, because obviously that has never happened before or since. And so being in that state, I was very aware that there was no thought that was attached to it, which our mind is what separates and pushes away the divine work. It is our thought, it's our mind, our consciousness that tightens up, and when it tightens up, then the Father tightens up as well. But this does not happen with birds. This does not happen with the trees, with the plant. They don't complain about their lot in life. And because they do not complain about it, they're provided for. Every need is fulfilled within them. So being in the consciousness of this bird made me very aware of, we don't know what animals are thinking, but now I feel like, okay, they're not. They're not really thinking. They're just acting off of intuition. They're just doing. Now, when we can do this is when we are in divine alignment. So let me go a little farther here. So later, maybe even later that day, I don't know. Like I said, it all blended together. I'm walking down the road. I know we've talked about this before, but I want to tell you again. I'm walking down the road, and I've had these amazing experiences. And so all of a sudden, I'm just walking, and I stop in the middle of the road, and I'm like, I'm at the heights of joy here. I'm as high as it can get. I'm in divine alignment, have been for several days. So I'm walking down the road, and I stop, and I'm like, tell me more, give me more. What should I be doing right now? And I'm told, just keep walking. I'm like, okay, well, this is super disappointing. Just keep walking. What? I was expecting something amazing, like, where's the mosquitoes that aren't touching me? Why am I not in the body of a bird? What's going on here? And then immediately, upon my disappointment of that answer from the divine, was immediately told why. And was told, the divine does not predict the future. The divine is moment to moment. And if you listen moment to moment, and you listen to it, and you act, and you do, this is how you are guided. And when you are cleansed of all of those low frequencies, when you are pure of heart, when you've let go of all the anger, the vindictiveness, the jealousy, all the envy, the low vibe things, and you are pure of heart, then you will be guided moment to moment. Go call this person. Hey, go give this person a text. Hey, go drive over here and go to this place. And then when you listen, all of a sudden these miraculous things will happen. And it is moment to moment. And I believe now that this is why, in the Bible they talk about, fortune tellers, that this is, well, there's several reasons why I would, say that this could, not be great for you. Why? Because then you were relying on something other than the divine. But if you were, dealing with a fortune teller, they could be contaminating your consciousness, right? If they're not in divine alignment and telling you the possibilities of, oh, wow, I see this amazing thing for you. If they're not in alignment, they are going to give you their message from what kind of alignment they are in. Why is this detrimental? Because it's like putting a curse on somebody when you say something. So this is kind of like a doctor that tells somebody, ooh, this don't look good. I think you're going to end up with arthritis. Well, they're going to end up with arthritis because they now believe in it. Had that not been there in their mind before, they wouldn't have got it. But it is the doctor's belief and the person's belief in that doctor that has now contaminated them, and now they got arthritis. Ain't nobody got time for that. You know what I'm saying? This is the same as a fortune teller that says, this thing's going to happen, or whatever it happens to be. Well, when you believe in that, you could create it. And you'll say, oh, this fortune teller was right. But no, it was really your creation, your belief in that creation. A strongly held belief can manifest like that, just like that. And so when we really believe in something, we give it our power. And so if we give our power to things that are not beneficial to us, it will damage us in some way. So when I'm walking down the road and the divine just says, just keep walking, and says, I'm not predicting the future, I'm guiding you moment by moment, doesn't that take all the pressure off? It takes all the pressure off. Because you don't need to be planning for this and doing that. Well, in the moment, if it says, hey, you need to start doing this, well, then you need to start doing that. And then work on that. And if in the next moment it says you need to do this, then you need to do that. Have you ever had something come to you that was real strange? Like, do this, go over and say something to this person, or whatever it happens to be. This is what I'm talking about. This is these little things that come to mind, these divine guidances that come to you. But you know what? If you're in a low vibe, you might not necessarily, you'll still have those things, but you won't listen to them, right? You'll talk yourself out of those blessings. It'll say, hey, you should go for a walk. And you'll be like, yeah, I don't really want to go for a walk. And you'll talk yourself out of the thing that you need to be doing. And by not forcing yourself to listen to the intuitive hits, it's detrimental to self. And not only detrimental to self, it can be detrimental to other people as well. Let me give you an example. So this one lady I used to go to church with goes to the grocery store, and she's intuitively told to buy a dozen roses, which she's like, this is really weird. I don't ever buy flowers for myself. She didn't want flowers for herself. But she was told, so adamantly, this intuitive hit she just kept getting, you need to buy a dozen roses, you need to buy a dozen roses, you need to buy, okay, so she goes and she buys them. Checks out, walking out of the store, and is thinking, what am I going to do with these flowers? And she looks over and sees a woman crying in her car. And so she's then told, go give it to her. And she's like, okay, this is weird. And she walks over, knocks on the window, ma'am, I'm sorry, are you okay? I believe that these are for you. I was told to buy these. And so this woman in the car looks at her and she says, well, it's my anniversary today. And my husband always would buy me a dozen red roses for our anniversary, but he died. And so it was the first year that she didn't have him. And so had she not listened to that intuitive hit of, hey, go do this and go do that thing, well, it wouldn't have been detrimental only to herself, because she's going to receive real good karma from what she did, but it would have been detrimental to this woman. We are the earth angels here, but only when we listen to those intuitive hits, to that guidance that we get second by second, moment by moment. And it doesn't have to make any sense. She didn't want the flowers. She's like, why am I buying these flowers? It didn't make any sense to her, but she didn't care. She listened to that intuitive hit that she got that told her she needed to go buy those. And then when she walked out and she seen that woman, she knew. And so we are guided to do things here on this earth, but only when we listen to it. And the divine loved that woman so much who lost her husband, that the divine wanted to bring some comfort to this woman who was in her grief and in her sorrow. And so the divine used a human being and said, hey, go do this. And they listened and they went and did it, and it provided some comfort and relief for this woman who needed it on that day. Sure, are those flowers going to change her life? No, but I guarantee you she's thought about it ever since. That was like 25 years ago. And I guarantee you that it brought her some comfort when she needed it the most, when she was feeling completely alone and realizing, okay, well, I'm obviously not alone, even though it appears so. So when we are guided to do things and we actually listen to these things that we're supposed to do, wonderful, miraculous things can happen in our lives and in the lives of other people. And why is this so wonderful and good? Well, there's the example right now. Wouldn't you want something like that if you were in a time of need? Wouldn't you want some stranger, if you didn't have anybody else, to come up to you and to provide for you some comfort and some words or whatever it happened to be, the exact thing that it was that you needed? Of course you would want this. And so you can be that for people when you listen. And the stranger it is, probably the more accurate it is. You know, I will have real weird things, and I'll just do them. You know, even if anything random that comes up, I'm just going to listen and I'm just going to do it. And I don't care the consequences. You know, I don't care if I went up and said something to somebody and they thought I was strange. Excellent. I don't care. I'm doing what the divine tells me to do. And by doing that, it will bring blessings to me and to you and to everyone. And when we operate in the world in this way, by listening to our intuition, by that moment-to-moment guidance, wonderful things, wonderful gifts can flow into our environment and into our lives, into our relationships, into our friendships, all the things, when we are listening and being guided by that. Whatever it is that you believe in is what you will experience. And so if your life has not been real great, maybe there's been some area that you're like, dang it, but I just can't get a hold of this one thing. You know, I feel satisfied, I feel happy. Maybe you don't in several areas. I don't know. But you need to examine your beliefs around that thing, because it's the beliefs, it's only the beliefs that are playing out that you are now experiencing and witnessing. That's it. And so when you change those beliefs, and it sounds, so simple to do. And it really, truly is. You subconsciously can change your beliefs like that, real fast. When you have yourself in that subconscious state and you're believing, you're thinking one way, well, you can change that. It's a perspective shift. And it literally will happen in one session, and it can happen in seconds. And then when you shift that belief, you know, so this is one thing I witnessed. I've been doing several money sessions for people here lately. Just kind of was a thing that came up. And and so by working with these people, well, what happened to one person? Well, instantly they are making more money at their job, like within days. They got a new job, and it pays them more than their old job. Why? Because there was a belief shift, a perspective shift. Something that was cleared out, something that had been in the way is now gone. And so now it has taken a limit that they had put on themselves subconsciously, not even knowing. It had took that limit and it got rid of it through shifting a belief. I know I've shifted my belief during a session. I was working with my one friend, and he's doing the session for me. And by the time that we were finished the session, I already had a message on my phone in regards to what we were working on during the session. So it's like the belief shift and the result happened basically simultaneously. So it's really important to what it is that you're believing. You know, it matters so much. And I want to talk about this now here too, about letting things go. So sometimes we will have things in our life and we need to let go of them because they are not serving us. They're not in our best interest. They're keeping us feeling unworthy or unlovable or undeserving or undervalued or whatever it happens to be. And as long as we allow those things in our life and our energy, these are old beliefs that are playing out that we're still clinging to. And those old beliefs are coming up to say, oh, you sure? You sure you don't want this? You wanted it, at one time, you must have wanted it because it was in your belief system. And so when you let that thing go, or maybe it's letting someone go, let them go, all of a sudden, now they're not pulling on your energy because you're not given to it anymore. And all of a sudden you got all kinds of extra energy that is now attracting higher vibrational things, right? Because if you had the awareness that you needed to let something go, it is because you were aware that it was low frequency, low vibe, that it was not good for you. And now that that thing is gone, rather than wasting that energy that you have attaching to something that is low vibrational, well, no, let's take that energy that we've freed up, and now something is just going to come in to you that is matching that higher vibrational frequency. Now, why do we want to do this? Because if you are holding on to someone and you know that you shouldn't, you need to let them go, and you need to let them go right now, because whatever it is that is dragging you down, it is going to affect all the other areas of your life as well. Because you can't be putting out this frequency here towards this thing and think that it's not going to just generally go out and bring back that same frequency to you, because it is. That's how it works. Your beliefs are just playing out. They're just playing out. And so if you believe that there's punishment from some God on high, you're going to experience it. You're going to experience that punishment in your life. And how are you going to experience this? Well, it totally depends on the person. If you're holding guilt within you, or if you're holding shame, or if you're holding anything negative towards yourself that you subconsciously feel like you should be punished for, then there is going to be punishments that are going to come into your life in any form that they want to show up in, that are going to punish you. And so you might want to punish yourself from something that you did when you were 7 years old. I remember I had a client come in, sweetest person, in their 70s, and coming in and feeling guilty about something that they did as a child. I think they, stole a chocolate bar, or, something to that effect. Okay, now this is something, let's give this example. Let's say that this was 65 years ago, but you're holding that guilt or shame within yourself. And you also simultaneously have a belief that God punishes people. Well, if you're holding on that guilt and you're holding on to that belief of punishment, over the years, you're going to experience punishment over and over and over and over again in all kinds of forms, until that guilt is dealt with. And then when you've released the guilt, then you no longer associate punishment with yourself, and then you won't experience the punishment anymore. What is playing out, though, is not punishment from some God on high. It is proof of your belief. Whatever one believes in wholeheartedly, they will experience in their life. And so if you believed wholeheartedly that at some point you are going to win the lottery, absolutely, you can and will win the lottery if you truly believed it with no doubt. This is the only trick to manifesting, is not having any doubt. This is why when you're speaking about something, and then all of a sudden it shows up, and you're like, oh, crazy, I manifested that. Well, yes, because how you were speaking about it, there wasn't really any focus on not having it, right? You were just talking about it. And as you were speaking about it, you're probably speaking about whatever that happened to be in a lighthearted way. And you didn't have any doubt attached to it because you weren't expecting it to even come to you. And so because you were just speaking about something in a certain way, it then made its way into your life. This is why you're like, well, I manifest these things that I'm speaking about, but I can't manifest the things that I want. Well, this is because there's some type of belief attached to it, like the belief that I can manifest these things, but I can't manifest the things that I want. That's a belief right there. But I'll bet that there's 7 or 8 or 10 beliefs that are attached to whatever it is that you've been trying to manifest that you haven't been able to get. And I bet that one of the factors is that you have doubt. And it talks about in the Bible saying, if you have a mustard seed of faith, which is a misquote from the Bible, because faith is not a size. You either have it or you do not. But doubt, if you had a mustard seed of doubt and you said, oh, absolutely, this thing is going to happen for me. It's this most wonderful thing. But if you have a mustard seed of doubt, then you do not have faith. And therefore, that thing will not manifest for you. It doesn't matter what it is. If you have a mustard seed of doubt, you cannot have it. Because you are putting belief in doubt, rather than putting your belief in that pure love of the divine and putting yourself into that divine alignment where you know that wellness, health, happiness, provision, nourishment, all the things are already yours. So, our lesson here today from the Christ letters is truly about belief. And so, examining your life, are you lacking in some area? Physically, mentally, emotionally, materially, are you lacking in some area? If you are, then there is some type of negative mindset, some type of lack mindset around that particular area. And when you identify it, then you can do the subconscious work and you can begin to heal it. Maybe the Mental Cleanse series can help you out there, because what it is deep subconscious healing sessions. It would be like you were attending a group hypnotherapy session with me. It's like I'm right there in the room with you and I'm guiding you through it. But I'm guiding you through subconscious healing. I'm only working with your subconscious mind, because that is where the changes can be made. Visibly, we are using our vision, we are using our pictures, our thoughts, our pretend, our make-believe, because this is the imagination mind is what your subconscious uses. And it believes in the things that you visualize. So if you visualize yourself in some type of negative situation over and over, you are attracting it and bringing it to yourself. You need to shift your focus completely anytime that something negative, anytime some type of negative vision comes into your mind, immediately dismiss it and erase it and replace it with something else. Do not allow yourself to indulge in those low vibrational thoughts, actions, words, or frequencies. Don't allow it. Set a rule for yourself. Be like, nope, you know what? Next time that this hurtful thing, or next time that this low vibe thing, or next time that this upsetting thing, or whatever it happens to be, next time it pops into my mind, I'm not going to give it 2 seconds of my time. I'm going to put it up on a shelf, I'm going to slide something in front of it, and I'm going to look at something else that brings me happiness or joy. And now I know that this can be work, right? And people, that takes too much effort. Okay, well then keep living and doing what you're doing. And you're going to get the exact same results over and over and over. But it's like anything else, right? When you start exercising, I remember back in the day, like I taught exercise classes for over 20 years. I loved it. I was addicted to it. But when I very first started working out, I think I was pregnant with my first, which I was 16 at the time. Thinking about that now, wow, what an amazing thing. So, I'm young, and I was attending prenatal classes, aquasize classes, I remember that. Then afterwards, okay, let's do postnatal, and I was part of the gym. And I thought, they offer all these classes, why am I not taking these? And so I just decided one day that I was going to work out, and that I was going to work out every single day. And so I remember attending a couple classes, and I don't remember if it was boxercise. Actually, you know what? I think it was that to start out with. Then I ended up doing step and other classes. But I remember attending, and my legs were on freaking fire, man. Like, I did not want to go and work out the next day. But I had promised myself, I had told myself I was going to. So I was like, of course I'm going to do it. I told myself I would do it. And so I did. And I went and I did it, and I never missed a day. And then at some point, someone was like, hey, you should teach some classes. And I was like, I should. And I went and I took the course, and then I taught classes for the next 20 some years. But the point of this
is it was difficult, and I had to push through the pain of it. And when I started working out, I'm sure had I just hopped up there and thought, oh, I'm going to teach a class today, well, of course I wouldn't have been able to do it, and I would have sucked. Everything takes practice. We have to exercise our minds. We have to practice these things. So if there's something that you're wanting to do, and you're like, oh, that takes too much effort, well, yeah, you got to practice it, and then pretty soon it won't take any effort. It'll just be easy peasy. Like if I'm working out, doing something now, is it hurting me? No, of course not. It's completely different because I'm practiced. So if there's something that you want to be doing and you haven't been doing it, just make a promise to yourself and then just keep it. And just do it and know that it's for your best interest. To truly and deeply care for yourself in the best way possible. And, well, we were talking about beliefs. I don't know how I got so sidetracked here. Anyways, I believe that if you are tuning in here today, you will be blessed by hearing this message. I believe this every time anyone tunes into my messages, that they will be blessed in some way, and that they will have some type of awareness that comes to them that they didn't have before they tuned in, and that they will be thankful and grateful for it. And I also believe that when this happens, that they will like and share my messages with other people so that other people can be aware as well and go forward into this world healing the hurt inside of them so that they can love in alignment and create a better world. We are creating an era of peace and love, and it is our every loving thought that is a transforming influence on this planet. Your consciousness, your thoughts really do matter. What you send out, they really, really do matter. So I love you all here today, and thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.